Okay guys, hello and welcome to my Thaumcraft 2 tutorial on the environment. And as you may have guessed, this is a tutorial which adds environmental structures to the basic Minecraft world, which is great. So we're going to be studying a lot of different things such as the V's, the trees, the ores, the land and creatures that are added to the game, and a lot of other cool things like that. But let's start off with the most fundamental system, the V's and Taint and Arua system, which is the basic system to pretty much Thaumcraft. And the best way of understanding what Aura and Taint is to understand what V's is. And what V's is this magical property which is in every single block, in every chunk. And certain chunks have higher levels of V's than they do of Aura and Taint. No, that came out wrong. They have the different levels of Aura than they do of Taint, and it's all measured in V's. And it's quite confusing because Aura is sort of referred to as V's, even though technically V's is both Taint and Aura. It's sort of the general term for it. So that is one thing people often do get confused over, and I'm just telling you now that that is what it is. So let's explain what Aura and Taint is now. What Aura is a positive side of V's, where it pretty much you can access machines with it, you can access loads of different items with it, you can use it for positive things. And then Taint is the negative side of things. You do not want Taint in your area that you're in, or else a lot of bad things will stop happening to the environment. Also, you can get liquid Taint, which is quite bad because you can't really get a way of getting rid of it apart from polluting it into the atmosphere, which is something you do not want because any environmentalist will know it's kind of like almost CO2, whereas you're like putting too much CO2 in the atmosphere, like global warming and stuff, except it's a lot worse than global warming. Who cares about global warming? Taint is what you don't want. And anyways, so there's a lot of other things you can do with liquid taint though, and by a lot I mean barely anything. There's one machine which you can use it with. Apart from that, you can't really do that much with it. As I say, in later versions of the mod there may be more to do with taint, but right now in the current version there is nothing that you can do with it. So the first thing which Thaumcraft 2 adds to the environment, which I think is worth showing you, are the different tree types that it adds. And so far there are two in the game. There is the Greatwood tree, which is the one you see in front of me, and the Silverwood tree, which I will show you in a minute. Although what this Greatwood tree is the most common of the two trees which spawn in it, and they spawn in areas with medium V's concentration, which is about 25% concentration of V's, whereas high areas of V's concentration will spawn the other tree, which is the tree which needs about 50% V's concentration to work. So you must look out for that in the future when you are playing through the mod. And you want to set up areas with like around these trees, because that gives you like a sign that you're in an area with highish V's concentration, which is good. Now, what these trees do add, however, is like they don't have any real magical properties apart from one thing, that when you're enchanting wood you get more enchantment out of the wood itself than if you were to cut a normal tree such as this tree here. And one last thing about this tree which I think is really cool is it's similar to a jungle tree in the fact that it's a 2x2 area the trunk covers, except when you break into it, it has this really cool effect where all four rings are different, or all four blocks are different, and they all sort of cause rings to center into the middle of the tree, similar to a real tree, like an oak tree or any other tree you'll find. Although if you are planning to place these blocks again, they are sort of place sensitive, so as you can tell I got that one right, yeah. But as you see, that one was placed completely wrong because of depending on where I placed it. So it's similar to a piston where it is depending on the angle of where the player is standing if you want to find it. The next tree which is added to the game is this tree here, and this is the Silverwood tree. And this tree spawns in areas of extremely high V's concentration, so that would be about 50% V's concentration, which doesn't sound extremely high, but it is quite high. You're sort of just going to have to trust me, that's a high level. And what these trees do right now is they don't really do that much. The wood isn't extremely magical or anything. I think you do get more enchanted wood out of it like the old other tree would, but it does not bear fruit, and instead of dropping a sapling, it drops a quicksilver ball. And if I break these, hopefully one should come while I destroy the tree. And it's not cooperating with me. Anyway, so these would be as rare as saplings would be, so it's not cooperating, and I'm completely destroying the sacred tree. And if it would just drop quicksilver, this tree seems. Oh, there we go. There we go. Look at the sacred tree now. Well, as you can see here, it drops some quicksilver, and I'll just show you. See, quicksilver. And there are other ways of getting this in the game without destroying these trees, and because there's an ore called cinnabar which you can smelt to get them, but I will talk more about that later. Now, right now, this quicksilver will only ever be needed to make items in the game, and I'll be showing you that in a different tutorial called Objects of Wonder. So stick around if you want to see what they do. But another thing which you will notice is that there are these flowers which tend to spawn around these trees. Now right now they have no main purpose in the game, although they're called the shimmerly flower, and there are two types of flowers at the game, and as I say, this one right now has no physical properties. You can break it and nothing will appear, there's no item which will come from it, although the other flower are called the cider pearl. And what they are these fire flowers which only spawn in deserts with high-ish concentration of these, and by high-ish I mean high for a desert, whereas in the normal land it would be very very low, but because it's a desert and there's very little V's and taint spread around the area, so it's very low. It's about 10% V's, which isn't that much, but for a desert that is quite high. And what happens is when you break these, you get this item here called a cider pearl pod. And what you can do with this pod is you can put it into your crafting table and mash it down to blaze powder, and you get 3 per pod, which is quite handy, and you'll get a pod per flower you break, which is nice. So it's not like a chance you'll get it, it is a definite 100% you'll get it on like a sapling or a silver thing, quicksilver. That's what I meant to say. However, Thaumcraft 2 does add so many more things to the game apart from plants and trees. It adds ores to the game, and these aren't any ordinary ores, these are crystals, or these crystals that you'd be more commonly known as, and also one other ore called the cinnabar ore, which I told you about earlier on. Although what they are crystals, and each one of them represent different things. The 4 main coloured ones represent the different states of Earth, and things like that. Then there are 2 other ones, such as these 2, which are the V's and Taint. So I will go through them all right now. So this one here is the V's crystal, and it is most obviously known for having lots of V's in it. This is the vaporous crystal, which is a clear representation of air in the properties of elements. The aquatis, which represents water. The fiery, which represents fire. And the earthen, which represents earth. And finally the tainted crystal, which is the bad crystal, the crystal which lets taint seep into the atmosphere around it, which is something which is not good and what you do not want in your world. So it's best to try and avoid these crystals, and if you do find them in your near area, I would highly advise you just to destroy them straight away, get rid of them, and that's all you really need to do. And then it sort of stops producing taint. Although you do get these crystal type form things here, which you can use in your world to make pure V's, or well, not these ones because these are taint, but if you use one of these 5 crystals, which you'll see in front of me, they'll get pure V's and there'll be no taint in them at all. It'll just be pure V's, and you need to condense them down with a condenser and you'll get pure liquid V's. Although this is Thaumcraft, we don't go around breaking crystals. No, we're way too lazy for that. Instead, the crystals come to us using this thing here called a crystalline bell. Very cool device, and it is researchable, so you are going to have to research it in order to find its crafting recipe, and for that exact reason, unfortunately, I cannot show you the crafting recipe for it, because the Thaumcraft 2 research system, which I will be doing a tutorial on in the near future, is extremely hard to get recipes from, because it doesn't tell you them anywhere. So I am sorry, I cannot tell you the crafting recipe for that. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to work it out yourself. And the final ore which Thaumcraft adds is the cinnabar ore, which I've talked about a bit, and it is similar to something like iron or gold, where when you mine it, you get the actual ore block. And what if you do is, if you get a furnace and some coal, and I did mention to you this earlier on, if you put the coal in and the cinnabar ore in, it will cook it. And once it's finished cooking, you'll get the quicksilver ball, which you get from this, like, equivalent to a sapling of the silverwood tree. And as I sort of showed you and demonstrated, the silverwood tree is like a sacred tree, so you don't want to break it because you cannot get it back once it's broken. So this is a more efficient way of getting quicksilver, because you do want to keep as much of the silverwood trees as you can, because they do purify the area with these. So now we're going to be moving on to the almost evil side of Thaumcraft, and this is what bad things can do if Tainted gets over control of your land. Although before we move on to that quite yet, there are these things here, and even though they're not Tainted controlled, they are quite bad, as in the fact that they're quite evil. And the reason why they're quite evil is because they're made of pure blocks, which are like pure elder-rich blocks, which are like really strong, and even diamond pickaxes can't damage them. So they're almost worse than bedrock, because in the fact that you need to get into them. And I'm not sure if there is a way of getting into them into the game right yet, although these are unbreakable, these columns, unless there's a way in the game, which I'm not sure of, because I tried to do so much research in trying to get it, and I just cannot find it anywhere. So if anyone does know, feel free to say in the comments below, because I cannot work out at all how you do it. Although underneath it in this temple here, or I just gave it away, underneath it down here there's a temple which has a lot of cool items in it. So if I break this block here and walk down, it's probably pitch black for you guys here, and for some reason there is a vaporous crystal there. Don't know why that's there. That's the second time I've seen one of those. I also saw a fairy crystal down here once, so that's interesting. So that may be a glitch in the game where like these crystals get stuck down here or something. I'm not sure, but that's the second time I've seen a crystal down here. Although if you cannot see due to YouTube's extremely black darkness readings, there are 4 chests in here, except they're special chests, they're void chests. And what are in these chests are special items which Thaumcraft adds to the game, which are very dark and evil, which you can then use for enchanting, or not enchanting. Did I say enchanting? I meant to say research, which can get you quite a lot of good research points, especially some of these ones here, like the eyes or the disturbed mirror and things like that. You can also find some of the elder-rich stone on here, which is this same stone here, which is unbreakable by anything which I can work out. Although sometimes you'll find these with a void interface on the top, and I will head to another obelisk to try and find them, because these interfaces are quite cool. So I found another obelisk, so let's head down here and see if there's an interface. As I say, there's not interfaces in all of them, and yes there is. So again, sorry if you can't really see them, but hopefully you'll be able to see the interface on top of this void chest here. And if I click on it, you have the same sort of GUI system as the last time, but instead you have this thing here. And what this is a void interface, and what you can do with these are that you can flick through the different pages, and this links every single chest with this interface on it, and you can look through every single item. Now I'm not sure if this is deliberate or not, because you can then flick through every single ever item which is in any single sort of chest with an interface throughout the entire world. So I think that is maybe a glitch or something, because I pretty much have unlimited access to every single thing here. So again, I'm not sure if that is deliberate or not. Although what is happening is that you have a very large chest which has 72 slots to be precise, and what you can get is you can achieve up to 9 different slots in every single chest. all with these void interfaces, which if I get a calculator and work it out, it adds to a total of 578 slots per section. And again, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slots. So 578 times 6 equals 3,468 different slots, all accessed through one interface, which is pretty cool. Although that is only if you have them all filled, and I do warn you, you can only access different pages of the slots if you do have every single chest filled with it. So you'll only be able to access 2 pages of the slots on one of them if, for example, you only have 2 chests with that same interface. So I do warn you, you do need quite a lot of void interfaces for that to work. So it's unlikely you'll be able to get every single slot, although if you do find them and you are able to get them, you can pretty much just have unlimited chest movement, because you can have all your items in like sort of an infinite storage chest somewhere in a obsidian proof bunker, and then you can just access it all through your different interfaces, which is pretty cool. And when I say different interfaces, you only really need one. So you can just carry an interface and a chest around with you, and then have all your different chests in that bunker. So, do you remember what I said, what happens when Taint goes bad in a certain area of land? Well, this is what happens here. Taint starts to spread, and you get these weird, sort of, I don't even know what to call them, squid type creatures wandering around, and you get this purple land and these corrupted flowers and things like that, and it's not good at all. Now, as you can tell, since I have spawned in this land using a potion called the Concentrated Taint Potion, the aura in the land is slowly taking it back, which is good. So it does like get back to normal if there's enough aura in the land. However, also if the taint levels get too high, this starts spawning naturally in the world, and this is what happens if you pollute the atmosphere with too much taint. So obviously you want to avoid that, because this is not good unless you like it for some reason. Now, what I should talk to you now about are these squid creature things that I told you about. And technically I am using an incorrect term here, because they're not creatures, they're blocks. And if you hit them, they release this taint into the atmosphere, which is not good. And if you breathe in this taint, I go close to it, I get poisoned, which is quite realistic, I find. So it's quite cool. And they're really weird. They're really hard to break as well. You just poisoned me again. But as you can tell, it takes a long time to break them. Although if you do find an area filled with this, I would advise you to break them, because that does stop them from making it worse. Although it will slowly get worse without them, but they definitely increase it. Now, as I have here is an intact taint pod, and you can't do anything with this, but you can research with it. So nearly every sort of thummy item you'll find, you can do almost research with it. And there are a couple of exceptions, which I will show you in just a minute's time, once I show you the different creatures that Thaumcraft adds. So, in areas of land such as this, creatures can get corrupted with taint. And these are these 5 creatures here, which I have in these spawners. And what they are the corrupted cow, or the tainted cow, tainted sheep, tainted creeper, tainted chicken, and tainted pig. And they pretty much turn the non-hostile creatures hostile against you, and quite vigorous, if I'm to be honest. And they're going to spawn any minute now, so that's why I am quite far back, because they do spawn in darkness. Although another thing which is happening is also the tainted creeper. When he blows up, he produces like a taint and pumps it into the atmosphere, and oh, they just spawned, and I think I am on peaceful. But it pumps the taint into the atmosphere, as well as he leaves the area around him, like the ground, physical ground around him, tainted. So as you can see, there's a tainted sheep that just spawned. Right now he doesn't see me, so he's not that vicious towards me, but if I get close enough he will be. There's a tainted chicken over there. Now they're the worst, because they tend to run the fastest at you, so I don't really want to get in the way of him, but I will attack these creatures in a minute. But I want to talk to them, or I want to talk about them a little bit for you. Now what they do is they pretty much start trying to attack you vigorously, because they are extremely vigorous and they're actually really, really bad. I mean, I personally cannot even fight them properly, so I'm going to fight them now, and I'm just going to show you how bad they are. So they'll all see me now, and they're all attacking me. Nope. Like, I've never sort of fought a cow before. And there's a chicken. No, see, this is why I don't like chicken. And oh, there's just a creeper. See, he explodes and left the taint all around the place. And I've already got quite low health. This is just sheep I'm fighting. They're not so bad on their own, but if they are within groups, then they can be quite bad. And this is the chicken here again. As you can see, he's the fastest and the smallest. That's why he's probably the worst. And he just dropped an item, and I'll explain that in a minute once I get away from these guys if they don't kill me. And he killed me, of course. Oh, I don't like you sheep anymore. I've lost so much respect for you now, sheep. Although, as you can tell, they drop some items, and you do not see quite about all of them that they drop. You only saw the one that I am holding in my hand now. And what they are the tainted spores, tainted organ, and the tainted fruit. And those are the only things they drop. I don't even think they drop tainted fruit. I think that's the tainted trees, sorry, so that was my mistake there. But the tainted trees are pretty much just trees which grow in tainted land. I didn't show you that, sorry. But they don't really look that much different. I may show you one in just a minute's time once I finish explaining this. I forgot about that. But right now they have no real importance into it, apart from the fact that you can research things with them. So as I said, most items that you see here are researchable and don't really provide much crafting use into the mod itself. And because I forgot to show you, this is what the tainted trees would look like, and they are no different than any other tainted land, except they would only spawn in areas where trees are around and that get tainted. So not much different, and the aura level is quite high in here, so it's taking it back very quickly. Even the trees turn back, which is cool. So the next mob is the brainy zombie, and these are zombies but they're smarter. And if I change it to be fully nighttime, as I have just now, the zombie spawns and he looks just like a normal zombie, except his face is a bit more developed and a bit more angry looking. And if I try and kill him, hopefully he'll drop one. Yes, he did. He dropped a zombie brain, which is a brain that you can use in a brain in a jar. And what those brain in jars are these jars which are filled with brains pretty much, and they are like enchanting for the Thaumic enchanter. And how you make them is by infusing a zombie brain and those glass bottles from potion making. You infuse those together and you get a brain in a jar, simple as that. And there are other things that they can drop, so I'll try and attack another one right now if one would spawn, and we'll see what the other items are. Oh, two just spawned, so we're going to attack these guys, see what they drop. Oh, another brain. Oh, and this guy dropped a skull. I should mention they also do drop the normal zombie meat as well. So it turns out the leaves on trees get destroyed when tainted land gets renewed back to normal land. Well, that's quite cool. So it does kind of permanently destroy the vegetation. Also, it leaves the ground quite barren instead of turning it back into grass. So that's something interesting which I never realised. Although, as you see, I also got this distorted skull, and this is an item which again you can research, and it has no real point in the mod as such apart from research. And finally, the last two mobs which I want to show you, and the last thing which I want to show you in the mod for the environment section, is the tainted slime, or the Thaumic slime. And did I say tainted? I meant to say Thaumic originally, sorry about that. And the wisp, which are really, really cool items. And I have two spawning things here, and hopefully they will spawn in a minute. And we'll see. So it looks like one attempted to spawn there. Not sure why he's not spawning. Although, there we go. A slime just spawned. And what they are, they're just normal slimes. They're no different really, apart from the fact that they can get a little bit smaller. So this one here, which would normally not damage you at all, this one does cause damage. But if you break them, they come very small and they do not cause any damage at all. And they're kind of cute, to be honest. I quite like them. And they're purple as well, which is cool. I think they look really cool in purple. And if I try and kill these guys now, the one thing is these guys are a nightmare to hit. No, die. hurry up now. There we go. And the last one, which you can see here, oh, perfect timing, is a wisp. And these wisps spawn in the different crystals types. Sorry, I should explain what a wisp is first of all. It's pretty much a live animated V's crystal. And the different crystal types, i.e. earth, fire, water, air, and V's, and tainted, spawn in their appropriate like land area which they spawn in. So since this is a swamp, it's quite earthy, and it has an earthen crystal. Although if you do it in the mountain, you'd get a vaporous crystal because the mountains are quite high in the air. If you do it in a desert, you get a fairy crystal, which is the fire equivalent one. If you get it in a water biome, there would be water crystals or the aquatis crystals. I think these crystals can spawn anywhere, but I'm not quite sure on that. I think they spawn in forests maybe, if not anywhere, because I have seen them a lot in forests. And finally, the tainted crystal will only spawn in areas with tainted land. And these things are quite cool. Although you do, if you want to try and get like a different source of these crystals, you can use these guys to kill them, and it's better to kill them with one of these two items here. One of them is a fire rod, which sets fire out to people, such as that, so it's pretty cool. And the last one, this is mainly used more for catching these V's guys because they are deadly to hit with a sword. And they're known to be quite loud, these ones, so I will be quiet as I fire with it. So let's go. There we go. And as you can see, this one here was a fail. It didn't drop a beast crystal, it dropped a cracked wisp shell. So they aren't as handy, but you can research them. So if I head this guy over here and try and do it again, hopefully he'll drop a shell. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he did. He dropped an earthen crystal, which is very handy, very nice, and very cool. Now, as you can see, they do try and attack back to you when they are provoked, although they are quite harmless in general. So that is good. And that is also all I really want to show you today with the environment section of Thaumcraft 2. So if you did enjoy this, feel free to leave a comment, rate, and even subscribe if you do feel like that is something that you would want to see more of, because I do a lot of these sort of tutorial things, and I'm going to try and get into the way of doing more Thaumcraft ones. And for people who are interested, there should be annotations which are in the video at all times, as at the top, as you can see, and there will be on the 5 other different tutorials which I'll be doing, which are the machines, the seals, the objects of wonder, and the research. And sorry, I can't speak. But yeah, so that is the environment section done, and I am going to be doing the machines one, which will be coming out in the near future if you guys are interested to watch, unless it's already out if you're watching this quite later on in the year. So until then, see ya.